All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Katie McKean. I'm the community manager here at Reversing Labs. In just a couple of seconds, we're about to kick off our live session. So stay tuned. We're letting a few people pop in. But while we're waiting, I hope that for those of you in voting states got out there to vote today. I'm not giving a voting update, just saying, hey, do your civic duty. But what we're all here for today, we're about to hop in. So I'm excited to share that we are now announcing support for the PowerShell gallery community here for the Spectra Assure Community free tool. So with us today to give us all the ins and outs of what all this goodness entails, I'm very excited to be introducing a first timer to the live scene here today, Alex Gadecki. So Alex, before we dive into the material today, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what your role is here at Reversing
Sure.
Labs?
Yeah, my name is Alex Gadecki. I'm very excited to be here. I'm a product manager at Reversing Labs. So, I'm responsible for all sorts of things related to the product, researching the market, understanding how our users are using the product, working with our research and engineering team to get different features implemented, and then working with sales and marketing like this to get the message out there and help people understand what it is that we do.
Well, it's an important role, and I have to say, it's a little bit like Barbie. Every day is a little different, right? Just depends on what hat you're wearing. So, Alex, thanks for joining. And for those of you at home, just to clue into what we're talking about today, Secure.software, that is the website with our free tool where you can go and scan packages. So we support currently NPM, Ruby Gems, PyPI, as well as NuGet. So we last 2 months ago, we announced that we also support VS Code plugins for the developer toolchain. Today, we're announcing PowerShell Gallery. So, Alex, for those at home who maybe not so sure with what PowerShell Gallery is, can you tell us a little bit about what PowerShell is and why it's important to today's conversation?
Sure. PowerShell, it was developed by Microsoft. It's a cross-platform command line shell and scripting language. It's used a lot by administrators and people who manage computer systems to execute, automate any sort of administrative task across a large network. It's very important for any system management user.
So I would imagine these are very important things because there's also a lot of scripting going
Oh,
on in the world of today. So,
yes, yes.
PowerShell is everywhere, as you talked about, and just giving us a little overview of what PowerShell is. It's everywhere in automation, also really everywhere we're seeing in deployment pipelines. Why did we bring PowerShell support to the Spectra Assure community?
Okay, so we can. I'll take a step back and explain what the Spectra Assure community is. It is a free tool that we offer to the public that has a bunch of pre-scanned packages that have been scanned by our Spectra Assure product, which identifies any risk within software from open source or proprietary. Obviously, for the community, it is all open source software packages. So as you mentioned, the community supports NPM, PyPI, Ruby Gems, NuGet, VS Code extensions, and now PowerShell Gallery. And these are all software that's been pre-scanned, and any threat that has been identified will be surfaced. So if you're a developer or a system administrator, anyone who's trying to use a software package, if you want to know more about it, make sure that it's safe to use, that it doesn't present risk, that it could not introduce a threat vector, any sort of way that would lead to your system being compromised. You want to make sure it's safe. You can go to this tool, and it'll give you a rundown on what that package is, what different threats are. So we just add this to give more comprehensive support across another attack surface, in this case PowerShell Gallery, to make sure that anyone using software can be confident that it's safe. Our mantra at Reversing Labs is to not to trust but to verify software, and this is just an extension of that, further support.
I love that, trust but verify. Especially in the world of today where there's so many things where they're coming out so quickly, you have to make sure you can actually trust what you're using. Not only that, but also verify that it is what it says it is, it does what it says it does, right? So, thanks for giving us a little bit of that background on what PowerShell Gallery is and how it fits into the world today. How about fitting into the bigger picture? How is this helping secure software supply chain for DevSecOps focused organizations?
Sure. So the bigger picture is, PowerShell scripts, they have the name is PowerShell. They have a lot of power. They can execute commands. They have, if you're running them with administrative privileges in a development environment, they could be introducing all sorts of risks that you aren't aware of. They could be key logging, stealing credentials, even executing, downloading other dependencies. All these things you're not aware of. So, this is just another step to make sure that that is not going on. Traditional tools, they don't have as much insight into these different behaviors. They might just check for CVEs or check a hash that it's not no malicious. It won't actually be able to understand what that package is doing. There's no stack analysis that surfaces the behaviors of it like Reversing Labs does. So this is just another step in giving users insight into the actual behavior and power of any software package that they're using.
Yeah, I like that. It's more than just bones, right? So
Yes,
we talked about what PowerShell Gallery is. We've talked about what PowerShell Gallery is, the power that it can harness. Can you walk us through what a module looks like in Spectra Assure Community? What does it look like? What does it feel like?
One moment.
So folks at home, this is the moment of truth where we do the live demo. So fingers crossed.
Okay, so I hope you can see my screen.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so this is what the free tool looks like. This is the Spectra Assure Community. As we mentioned, this is intended as a resource for anyone who is finding any open source software to vet it to make sure that it does not present risk. So here you can search a package by a name or a hash. You can see all the ecosystems that we support, PowerShell Gallery being one of them. We could go here, you can see directories of these different ecosystems. So this is going to present all the packages. Right now it's sorted by popularity. So here's what this looks like. And then I'll just take a look at the most popular package.
Yeah, let's take a look.
So this is what a package page looks like. You can see the information that's presented. Here we have a warning. You can see when it was scanned 18 hours ago. So as I mentioned before, all the packages on this free tool have been pre-scanned. There's a description of what it does, a license if it has one, if it's identified, when it was published. So this is the actual check that is being performed by Reversing Labs Spectra Assure tool. So we do checks in these three categories: compliance, security, and threats. So we check licenses, make sure that there's no illegal licenses being used, secrets, making sure that no API keys or password or any sort of credentials are included in the package, check for vulnerabilities, hardening, and then here are threats, tampering and malware, which your traditional tools aren't going to be looking at. So this is what it looks like. You can see there's an overview, it gives you popularity. So this is a good gut check, right? If something's not popular, so who knows, it might be a little sketchier. The amount of contributors, how many dependencies, and how many then checks for the most part here. So you can see the issues. These are different policies. So Reversing Labs is a Spectra Assure tool, checks software against all these different policies. And anything that we find will surface here. You can click on it and this will bring you to our documentation where you can find more information. And there's also a drop down that gives just a high level overview of what the problem is. So in this case, there's a execution hijacking concern because the executable files are compiled without the recommended dynamic symbol hijacking protections. And then if we had this information, it'll be surfaced the prevalence, how common this issue is within PowerShell Gallery or whatever community is being checked. And then there's also next steps on, so what action should be taken. And a lot of times this is just going to be to verify that the software is doing what you expect. We also have behaviors. So this, as I mentioned before, we can do the stack analysis surfaces what that package is capable of doing on your machine. So, if you just you might have a PowerShell script that is trying to read logs or find out specific information. You wouldn't expect something that is just reading to have the ability to execute a file. So if you see something like that, there's unexpected behavior, that should be a warning that this might not be safe to use. So this is all information that, traditionally, if someone wanted to know about, they would have to dig into a package and really analyze what's going on. Here at Reversing Labs, we've taken care of that for you, and we give you all the information right from the jump, free to access, so you can really understand what packages you are using in your software environment and ensuring that you have a secure SDLC.
I think what you're showing is just really powerful from the position today of like operations folks as well as developers, because to your point, other tools, you're often looking at, especially when it comes to free tools, is you're just looking at those vulnerabilities. Whereas today we're being able to actually unlock a lot more power by looking at not only vulnerabilities, but we're also looking to make sure you're not leaking secrets. How is the behavior playing out in these packages and making sure it's doing what it's supposed to do, as well as all those other rich features such as threat hunting and making sure there's no tampering or hardening issues. So I find this to be really powerful, and I love that you went through this, Alex, with such keen detail and just explaining step by step what folks should be looking at when they are reviewing these different packages. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Final question for you. I know we're almost about at time, but you walked through a lot today and just explaining what our capabilities are and the research that we can put into this, and as well as exemplify for folks at home. Why is this particularly important for development teams and DevSecOps enterprises to be concerned about, or why is this something they should be looking at?
Again, there's a saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Like, this is just another way to get. It's feasible that someone, it's vulnerable to like typo squats or author spoofing. Not every package that's on there is going to necessarily be safe to use. So you just want to make sure that it is. I know we just released a blog today at Reversing Labs about potential threat vector originating from PowerShell gallery. So, just these scripts, these packages can introduce risks. They can be a way that a malicious actor can get into your environment. They could change your software without you even knowing, and then release or that could lead to some sort of compromise. So this is just another way to make sure that you get in front of a cyber security incident before it happens. Traditional tools, they're not going to be able to tell you about that. They might be able to catch it once stuff starts going wrong, but by that time, it's much more of a headache. You'd much rather get in front of it.
Yeah, I love that, being more proactive rather than reactive. I one time heard a great analogy is that you want to be an architect of your own chaos instead of just being the firefighter of the chaos. So this is one way to do it. Alex, I know we're about at time, so thank you so much for jumping on here today to explain to me some of the new richness we have and just supporting our PowerShell launch for community. For those of you at home, please check out secure.software and check out if those PowerShell gallery scripts you're using are safe to use. Till next time, folks.
Thank you.